one to make me feel alright. Somebody help me, yeah. Somebody help me now. Won't somebody tell me what I've done wrong?
Tabloid Tuesday. Millions face cash machine misery. Millions of Britons, many of them pensioners, could be left struggling to pay for essentials in a cashless landscape, a report warns today. Cash machines vanished at a rate of 488 a month from June to December in 2018.
488 doesn't seem like a lot. And if you consider...
A month?
Well, even so, it's probably not a lot considering that the high street's dying and that most of the places in sort of city centre areas are closed up. Often you have cash machines in shops and things like that.
I need some space for the newspaper to put on here.
Yeah.
Yes, so carry on, Chris.
So it's not surprising to me. I mean, you've got many sort of shopping centres and things closing down. And obviously, if they do, the cash machines will go with it because there's no point to keep the cash machines.
What if you need cash for the bus?
Yeah, but it's a question of where it is. I mean, if you have a cash machine like on a high street like this, which is busy and has a lot of footfall, so you'll get more people going to the cash machines and things like that.
What if we were to install cash machines into our homes? Would that be a solution?
Well, no, because we've got online banking.
But you can't withdraw money out in your own house.
Yeah, but the operatives who maintain the cash machine would constantly have to go around people's houses.
But only 40 or 50 years ago, a lot of different people used to come around your house. We don't have anyone anymore. They have the milkman, the gas man, or anything.
Well, we do. We do. If you subscribe to the service and things like that, you will get... We had a gas inspector come around just after Christmas.
You get Jehovah's Witnesses around in Lichfield.
I've only ever been stopped once by a Jehovah's Witness, and I found their American way of...
No, that's Mormons.
No, I'm sure that... Is it? I don't know.
Right.
I'm agnostic, so...
Yeah, I know you've said this in 2 episodes now.
Just reinforcing.
So who's the worst person you've seen come to your door?
Well, I live in a flat, and you can't get in unless you...
But you've lived in other places.
Yeah, but years ago, like over a decade ago.
Yeah, any time. The worst person you've ever seen stood at a door of a place you lived in.
There was a snooty woman in the mid-2000s who had a Rolls Royce and parked it in the wrong place, and she came up to our... we asked her to move it, and she came up to our door and said, right, I've moved the car now, are you satisfied? And things like that.
Oh, yeah.
And we just shouted at her, so...
What did you shout at her?
Well, I can't really remember precisely. Well, I definitely remember calling out, "You're an idiot." Like, even though...
But what position were you in to judge at the age of 5 about parking?
I was slightly older than that. I was about 9 or 10.
Again?
Well... I used to do, whenever we had a car boot or were travelling around Lichfield, I used to work the gears of the car. So,
right.
My dad drove and things like that, so I got early experience of driving a car.
What's that got to do with parking?
Well, I'm just saying that I had at least some experience at that point of being able to judge what was good or what wasn't.
So these car boots, what did you do at the car boots?
Sell stuff that we didn't want.
Like what? Horn mags?
No.
Because obviously your parents have split up, so...
It was like toys and things that I didn't really play with because I was...
you're going out of them. Did you do like clothes and trinkets and underwear?
Yeah, things like that. And we had a pasting table and we just put it on.
Did you ever set up like a Corby trouser presser or a toasted sandwich maker? Because they're always on car boots, aren't they?
Yeah, but I didn't. I never had one. No.
Oh, okay. Well, the second story is one you selected, Chris. Is "Don't worry, Philip. I think I'll take the train back to London."
It seems as though the Queen has gone on a commuter train. but it looks quite staged.
Actually no. I made that point.
Yeah,
you didn't notice, did you, at all?
Well,
you didn't actually notice at all that there were 3 burly blokes stood at the train.
well, I did because it's in the picture.
After I pointed it out. Is it because the man in the...
You can see.
Yeah, but look, I think you're a bit racist because the massive guy in the background is black and you just didn't see him.
Well, it's rather interesting to note that the way the photograph has been...
You're not denying it.
Well, I do deny it, but
Right, okay.
the way that the photograph is done puts the Queen and 2 white bodyguards in the centre of the picture, whereas the black guy is on the far left of the photo and seems institutionally marginalised as a result. This is the Daily Express.
His face is in focus more than the other ones.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
It isn't. It's not. I mean, look at it. If you look at the expression he's pulling as well, it's one of sort of anguished concern. It's like...
It's not. It's anguished concern because she looks like she's about to fall the fuck over because she's old.
She doesn't.
And she's got to bridge the gap with the little steps that she takes.
She doesn't. I mean, you know... What's the Queen doing at King's Lynn anyway? I mean...
Well, this might have been a sort of public relations exercise to show that she was a bit more engaged with real people.
Show that she's a little bit less of a reptilian and a bit more of a human.
So you believe the royal family?
No, I know, no.
You don't believe in the moon landing, and you don't believe 9/11 was done by jihadists. No. So it's perfectly reasonable for me to assume that you think there are reptilians leading the world.
No, it's not, because I have specific sort of instances where I disagree. I think that the first moon landing was faked for political purposes, and there is evidence to suggest that. I think that anyone who believes the official 9/11 story is an idiot.
Okay. So, Ford, the motor company, have invented a bed that, if you can see it down here, then it rocks you into a comfortable sleeping position onto your side. Look how chic and well designed it is. It's very nice.
I don't understand. I mean, why would you need that?
But some people might sleep very uncomfortably and have trouble sleeping.
Yeah, but you just get a softer mattress.
But some people just still can't get comfortable. It doesn't always work like that. If a softer mattress doesn't have any resistance to keep you in a comfortable sleeping position.
Yeah, but you have memory foam mattresses and things.
Yeah, I've got one of them. It doesn't work. It just gets flatter and flatter over time.
I wonder why. I don't really. I mean, it's interesting that Ford is doing this. I mean, you'd usually think that, like, I don't know, Dyson would do something innovative.
They make Hoovers.
Yeah, I know, but Ford make cars, not beds.
So why are Dyson more likely to make them than Ford?
Because they seem more innovative. I mean, when was the last time Ford was innovative? With the GT40 in the 60s. That was about the last time that Ford was an innovative company.
Well, we've got the new EcoBoost V6 and the new Ford GT. That's pretty innovative. One of the most powerful and environmentally friendly turbocharged engines.
It's not. The only reason why that's innovative is because there's a global government pressure to reduce carbon emissions.
So, for the bed, would you... what about if you were doing other things on the bed?
Yeah.
Would a tilt-in bed be good for that?
Well, it might enhance the experience. It depends how you like it.
How in what way?
Well, it depends how you like it.
Give me some instances. Don't have to be personal ones, just... I mean, ideally, I'd like them to be personal ones, but...
Well, no, I'm not doing that. I think... I mean, it depends how much it rocks, doesn't it?
It rocks your world, baby. Depends who you're with as well. If like, because this might help with alleviate the pressure of a very fat woman. Don't you think?
Yeah, possibly. But I mean, what if the mechanism is such that the bed tips to one side if one of you is a different weight to the other? What safeguard is there to protect you while you're asleep?
Would this be improved, do you think, Chris, if it had a trapdoor function where if you were in bed with someone you didn't like, or say a big homosexual man was to jump on the bed with you and you wanted to quickly flip him off, would some trapdoor function work? Like, as an anti-rape measure?
No.
Well, why not? It would work.
Yeah, but what's going to happen? He's just going to fall into the bed, and you have to...
It flips you off the bed. It flips them off the bed.
What if he comes round the other side?
Well, it looks pretty modern. I'm pretty sure it'd know when the pressure's getting on the bed as he jumps on it or whatever.
Yeah, but what if he comes round the other side? If he's been flipped off the bed...
I'm asking you to innovate on an idea that I've introduced.
That's not a very good idea, because it doesn't do what you want it to do. If it flips the person off, what if the person just goes round the other side and you're on the other side, and it flips you off as well? Well,
I was thinking more of an aggressive first instance, so it properly throws you into the ceiling.
Yeah, but
it even says there, I've seen it ruin relationships.
But I mean, I don't really
Humans are most vulnerable when sleeping. So my idea isn't stupid at all.
Well, if
we read on, it might even have that function built into it already.
You're assuming that there is an angry sort of homosexual rapist automatically in your house.
Well, no, but if that situation arises, say...
Yeah, but it won't, because you put the alarm on the door.
What about if it's a burglar and he sees you and he goes, oh, and he tries to get in the bed?
So an angry homosexual burglar who is poised to rape someone.
Yeah, it could happen.
And that is the sole reason why you would purchase this bed.
I'm not saying purchase it, just as this is clearly a display of technological innovation. I don't think it's going to be a mass market thing. So if you, it's obviously conceptual. But what I'm saying is if you were to employ those features, Ford could also. It would be a very good public relations exercise to show that Ford stand with the Me Too movement.
Yes, I suppose, but...
So you've agreed yet again?
Well...
Yeah, but carry on anyway.
But it depends, like, in the circumstances. I mean...
I'm not saying they have to justify it via a rapist, but...
Yeah, but, I mean, surely if it rolls people to one side, it's not going to stop rape from occurring.
What if it's so advanced that it knows your exact weight, so anyone else that gets on it knows you're either too light or too heavy, it knows they're either too light or too heavy, so instantly it knows to dispatch.
Surely it'd just be saying unexpected item in the bagging area if that's the case.
Well, if you want to be bagged by a rapist, but I'm suggesting an
angry homosexual burglar rapist.
Well, yeah, but as you know, the self-defense laws in Britain are quite weak.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
So devices like this that have self-defense built into them would be a good way of going about it, surely.
I mean, possibly, but I mean, the point is that the law is weak, and that I think the law should be strengthened before.
What about
stuff like this? I mean, this just seemed like a bit of a drastic measure.
Well, yeah. Should we move on?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot. We've had a lot to say about something so silly. So we're going to go to page 21. This was a bit of a curveball story. Much ado about accepting China's gift of a pavilion in Shakespeare's Stratford. So, a sort of Chinese bandstand, or Chinese-inspired bandstand, which appears to have trees growing inside it. So, sort of like a contemplation area or something. Has been built in Stratford, where obviously Shakespeare lived.
I think this is a sign of growing multiculturalism and things like that. That our history has been blended with newer things. And
well, that's an ancient Chinese structure. Yeah. It's not a communist block of flats, is it?
Well, it might be.
Well, there's no flats in it. It's a bandstand.
Yeah, I know. So it probably is a communist block of flats.
Why would communists have frivolous public entertainment.
No, they wouldn't. They'd just say that something is something different to what it actually is.
Oh, okay. Well, it says council leader Tony Jefferson said the gift was a tangible symbol of the international status of Stratford-upon-Avon.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I've said, isn't it? I mean, it's just
No, it wasn't.
well, it's sort of growing fusion of cultures and things like that.
Well, no, he's saying that even somewhere as far away as China has recognised Stratford-upon-Avon. He's saying Stratford-upon-Avon is a notorious place. That's a very different thing to alleging the creeping multiculturalism, as you put it.
Well, I mean, it is famous for William Shakespeare, and obviously,
What does that have to do with the Chinese?
well, maybe they appreciate
It doesn't say that.
theatre and things. Well, yeah, because that's a story about the bandstand.
But Chinese theatre is better than Shakespeare,
Well, how do you know that?
because I've seen it.
Where have you seen it?
The theatre.
It's a British theatre.
Yeah, they do tours and stuff because it's not. I don't want to use the word exotic, but it's something a bit different to listening to drivel for 2 hours, which Shakespeare is. And that's a very controversial opinion, but it is shit.
So essentially, what you're essentially posing this as China is trying to insult the
No.
great works of Shakespeare because you think that they're better.
Well, that could be an ulterior motive because they might say, oh, I'm not.
It says here it's a Chinese twin town. Now,
Yeah.
I know that Lichfield is twinned with a place in France, and I can't remember what its actual name is. This was done because of the end of the Second World War as a way of sort of building up relations between countries in the aftermath of the Second World War, and all this is probably an extension of that.
What does this have to do with the Second World War?
No, the twin town things. These came about at the end of the Second World War to try and rebuild relations between countries.
It actually says as well that it's one of the most popular spots for Chinese tourists, which is interesting.
Yeah, and I was last in Stratford,
Chris Wilkinson.
2013, and I didn't see many Chinese people there.
How many did you see?
I can't give you a specific number, but
If you were to say as a percentage of the population,
very limited.
how many did you see? Well, then you must be able to sort of guess how many you saw per day.
5 a day?
5 Chinamen
Ish.
ish.
Yeah.
What are you saying? Because they're shorter than normal people,
Well, no.
or Western people.
just saying
Oh right. Right.
Estimation.
Oh right. I thought you were making because you had a grin on your face. It looked like you were trying to have a smart joke there.
No?
'Cause it's not. We don't do those sort of things anymore, do we?
Well, you.
So we're going to page 26. A deaf woman snubbed by 1,000 bosses. She believes that because she's deaf, she's not being hired.
I find that very ludicrous indeed, because usually the reason why you would be rejected by an employer is because you don't have the right skills, you don't have the right experience to do the job.
But what if the skill is hearing?
Well, then why would you be deaf and apply to a job that requires you to hear things?
Can you think of 5 jobs that don't require your hearing?
Typing? Or that's
It's not a job, that's just one part of a job.
Alright, secretarial work then.
But what if the boss tells you what you want, what you need to do?
Sign language exists, and if she's deaf,
But the manager's not forced to know the sign language.
well then go to an employer that does understand sign language.
Very, very few people do know how to use sign language. I'm just saying you can't even list 5, so it must be really hard for her to find a job that you don't need your hearing for.
Well,
And you're blaming her.
Well, delivering things. What would you call that? Like distribution?
What if there's a disagreement at the door about what's been ordered, which often happens with takeaways and things? She can't explain herself.
She can lip read.
But she can't. She might not be able to speak. Not all deaf people have a concept of the spoken word because they've been deaf since they were a child.
It says in the article, it says Kelly has GCSEs. It doesn't give a specific number, and an MVQ level 2 in business administration. So I'm not far off when I said secretarial work.
So what situation in secretarial work would be best fitted for her being deaf? So I'm thinking sort of the gossip at the break time. That would be a good time to not be able to hear anything.
Typing.
No, I'm saying that would be the best bit to not hear things.
Oh, I thought you said, what would she do?
No, you already answered that.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've never really worked in a massive office or anything like that. I suppose if they liked her as a person, they wouldn't gossip about her or anything.
It's natural inclination to just make conversation at work because to pass the time, so people do gossip.
Well then, she won't be able to engage in that, which is a small loss, but probably worthwhile because obviously you get some very prejudicial people.
Right. So you've mentioned before we started recording that you have occasional tinnitus, which I've never heard of, but I'll take your word for it. So there's some questions here about tinnitus, and you're going to answer them as a long-term sufferer of occasional tinnitus. So, what is tinnitus?
A ringing in your ears, essentially.
Does having tinnitus mean you have to wear hearing aids?
No.
Does it mean you have hearing loss?
Temporarily, yes.
What, during the ringing?
Yes.
All right. Do some of the newer hearing aids have a tinnitus function?
Yes.
You guessed that, didn't you?
Yes.
Because you don't actually have it, do you?
No.
You're just making out you've got it to be more interesting.
No, occasionally it is there. I looked at that and it says yes.
Oh, okay.
That's what I said.
Right, okay. We've got a few more stories. Page 44. Can you remember what the stories were?
No.
No.
I didn't do the painful story.
There wasn't anything really to talk about. So, new feature for Tabloid Tuesday is we're doing. We probably should have done the new feature earlier in the show, but here we are. Is your star sign? So, are you a believer in star signs or astrology at all?
No, not really.
So, I'm going
how much this correlates to my actual life at the moment this week.
If you're spending too long dwelling on disappointments, now is the time to break the pattern. Find other ways to spend your time. You need to find work and activities that capture your imagination. Set yourself a definite goal and work towards it. 0905 987 3701.
Well, that's not even a prediction. That's just a general statement that is designed to uplift people.
Does it work?
No.
At any level for you?
Maybe slightly, but only because I'm already doing these things. So
Yeah, that's true, because usually they don't say if, they say what you are, but they write such a general statement that anyone could really believe it.
I mean, it says Britain's celebrity astrologer, so it's not even a professional then.
I don't think you can be a professional astrologer. Because it's not, it's bullshit.
Yeah, so what's the point of it? Russell Grant, I've never heard of it.
Well, mine is a bit more like we were saying, a bit more generalised, but designed to make me think it's so. But this could just think about how much this could equally apply to yourself, and how if you didn't know it was a different one. It's hard to be patient with people who are incompetent. Chris Wilkinson, you may have to gear yourself down to deal with an incompetent colleague's mistakes. Work progresses in a series of fits and starts. And this is all down to another person's carelessness.
That doesn't apply to me at all, really. And why is it so much about work? I thought this was about like general sort of lifestyle and ambition and things like that.
It's about the planets, isn't it?
Yeah, but you've got work mentioned in this one. You've got work mentioned in that one. Are there any others that have work mentioned in them? Is it all about work?
Someone's naive attitude to a problem is starting to annoy you. Nothing will be resolved if people can't be serious. You might feel as if this person takes a strange approach to life, and no matter how hard you try, you will never understand them.
These are just sort of very general statements. They're not predictions. They're not sort of there's not guidance from the stars or anything like that. It's just a load of rubbish.
Right.
It should be acknowledged as such, and I think it should be removed from the paper because that's bad.
But people might like them just as a bit of, a bit of fun, a bit of like we've just done. We've at least given them a purpose.
Yeah, I need to take the mickey out of them.
The Mickey.
Yeah.
So the final story of the day. Well, actually, no, there's two, but they're both brief. BBC cuts time for TV news. The BBC's late evening national and local news and weather is to be shortened from 45 minutes to 35 minutes. BBC News at 10 will be cut back to make way for a BBC 3 youth programme on Monday and Wednesday. On Monday to Wednesday.
There's no reason to shorten the news. I mean, if anything, the news is more important than anything that BBC 3's ever done. Or whatever it is.
Do you have any strong opinions on the journalist and presenter Reggie Yates?
Not particularly.
Anyway, carry on with what you were saying.
Yeah, so essentially, like, by shortening the time, the BBC are just really showing themselves up to be not very sensible people, I think.
Well, you are on record as having quite strong opinions about the BBC, so I thought you'd want to share some general points about the BBC. Of course, they're moving their headquarters to Brussels declaring that on the same month that they said that they've been receiving payouts from the European Union. But
this was already known and things like that. But shortening the news, obviously,
is it dumbing down?
I would say it is actually. Yeah, it's about as dumb as Richard Bacon snorting cocaine. Yeah.
Is that alleged or is that a thing?
It actually happened.
Where did it happen?
Where
do you think it happened?
He's the ex-Blue Peter presenter who got fired for it. And
he's on Radio 5 Live now, isn't he? Is he still on there?
I think so, yeah. And obviously the BBC was perfectly, apparently unaware of this. And then got rid of him at a later date. But considering the BBC's history, what with all of the sexual abuse scandals and things like that.
Which ones are those?
Jimmy Savile, obviously.
I just wanted you to say Jimmy Savile.
Rolf Harris. And things like that. Yeah.
So last story. Murdered for a cigarette. A shopper stabbed to death after being pestered for a cigarette was last night described by his distraught friends as a much-loved family man. I don't want to go into the personal stuff about him. It's just about the event itself.
I think this is... we had a similar story to this last week that was sort of
about knife crime.
Yeah, and like unnecessary murders, I think. It's obviously not very nice. This is stupid. Where was it done, actually? Does it say?
In Dulwich, so that's London.
Yeah,
London. South London.
Yeah. I mean, this is London, isn't it? So you can thank Sadiq Khan for the increase in crime.
Is there anything in your life that you would say you are addicted to as much as a smoker is addicted to cigarettes or nicotine? Dead air.
Tea?
Tea?
Yeah.
But you've come in, we're in a cafe at the moment and you've ordered a... What is that?
It's a fruit cooler.
What is a fruit cooler?
It's like a blended fruit thing. Right.
But, so do you think, is there anything in your life that you'd murder someone for?
No, not really.
If to protect something, not necessarily because you want it, that maybe something that's worth dying for.
Yeah, but that's context, isn't it? So
give me some context.
So, if you're acting in self-defence, then perhaps murder is permissible, I say.
But would you do it for anything else other than yourself? Would you kill for anything other than yourself?
No.
In protested?
No, I wouldn't. No.
No? Not even your parents?
Well, only in an act of self-defense. It depends what's going on.
If someone's trying to murder your mother in front of you,
Yeah.
do you try and stop them and kill them?
Yeah.
So not just yourself?
But stop them, but you don't necessarily have to kill someone to stop them.
No?
So,
But surely they deserve it.
well, it depends what they've done. It depends what they're doing. It depends what they're holding, like if they've got any weapons or anything.
Right, okay. Well, that can...
If they've got a gun, it might be legitimate to kill them. But.
Right, well, that concludes Tabloid Tuesday.
It's alright, it's okay. Doesn't really matter if you're old and grey. It's alright, I say it's okay. Listen to what I say. It's alright, doing fine. Doesn't really matter if the sun don't shine. It's alright, I say it's okay. We're getting to the end of the day. High tech, low tech, take your pick. 'Cause you can't teach an old dog a brand new trick. I don't care what anybody says. At the end of the day, there's a place that I can't find. A drink or two to ease my mind. Golden days. It's alright, take your time. Everybody thinks that you're past your prime. It's alright, it's okay. You still got plenty to say. It's alright, it's okay. Doesn't really matter if you're old and grey. It's alright, I say it's okay. Listen to what I say. It's alright, doing fine. Doesn't really matter if the sun don't shine. It's alright, I say it's okay. We're getting to the end of the day. High tech, low tech, take your pick. 'Cause you can't teach an old dog a brand new trick. I don't care what anybody says. At the end of the day, there's a place that I can't find. A drink or two to ease my mind. Golden days. It's alright, take your time. Everybody thinks that you're past your prime. It's alright, it's okay. You still got plenty to say.